So thanks for everybody for joining us. This is the first of what we hope to be our monthly series of webinars that are going to be aimed at specifically Simplex-IT clients, really doubling down and digging into what are some of the services that we're offering to our clients so that they can both better understand in some cases, such as this security topic, but also better take advantage of, such as next month, we're going to be talking about our password management solutions. The month after that, we're going to be talking about our end user education program, so on and so forth. But the reason we wanted to start this one off is because those of you who we've been having conversations with about what our new offering is, our Model 24, as opposed to Model 23 or Model 22, which are really catchy names. The Model 24, one of the biggest changes that we're making is the addition of the Sophos MDR service. And it's one of those that represents a significant improvement of not just security posture in general, but that question about what happens at 2 o'clock in the morning if something bad happens and the like. And Simplex-IT, we've had a long relationship with Sophos. We've been a partner with them, and I have a closet full of socks to prove it. And I wish I was kidding. I literally have about 40 pair of socks that have been accumulated over the past years. But more importantly, we've been partnering with them with a lot of their endpoint protection, their firewalls and the like. And when we made the decision to move towards MDR, and Christopher will give you a better definition of what that is, there are many. We took a look at 3 vendors, and one of the big reasons we chose Sophos was because of our longstanding relationship with them. We already know what they do and how they do it, and they know about us and still want to maintain that relationship. So anyway, so Christopher's already been warned. This is going to be a review of what the MDR process is, but he's already been warned that I'm going to interrupt him whenever I feel like it, because that's what I do. So Christopher, welcome and sorry, and I'll turn it over to you.
No problem at all. You know your clients, so I want this to be for them. So thank you for having me. So yes, I'm gonna go over the MDR, Managed Detection and Response service that Sophos offers, that Bob is layering on in Model 24. So I kind of want to start out with where you are in terms of security today. So the as-is scenario that we're looking at, just at a very high level, what do you have today? You have InterceptX Advanced on the endpoints. It is the world's best endpoint protection. We have next-gen technologies, anti-ransomware exploit protection, ransomware rollback via CryptoGuard, application control, DLP, all these features that are baked into our core offering of InterceptX Advanced. And then you can see here on this slide that MDR adds the person-driven investigation and remediation of whatever's going on, and I'll kind of elaborate on what that consists of here shortly. So I do just need to kind of talk briefly about the Sophos adaptive cybersecurity ecosystem, just because this does give you, like Bob was saying, you know, a view into our product portfolio as a whole and what makes us so good at farming threat intelligence, basically. So you can see we, from effectively beginning to end, from edge to internal, you know, crown jewels, we have something that can fit into that need, into that niche. So, and every product that does have some sort of filtering, like endpoint, mobile, ZTNA, et cetera, firewall, it's all providing that threat intelligence up to Sophos Labs, which then turns that into improved technology across the board, right? So firewall detection can improve InterceptX Advanced, for example.
And I'm going to interrupt here for one sec. You go right back to that.
Please.
So this is another one of the reasons why we're we've chosen Sophos and continuing going with Sophos. One of the things down in the bottom left, because it wouldn't be a 2024 PowerPoint if the term AI isn't there somewhere. It's law.
Very true.
Sophos first made AI investments into the security field about 5 years ago, if memory serves. And so they're not new to this. This is not suddenly they're going to start blathering that onto everything. Similarly, if you take a look at a lot of these things they've got, we're using encryption, endpoint, server protection, firewall. We're starting to take a look at their switches. We're using their wireless in a number of cases. And again, the firewall side of things. So this is one of those where if you have different watchmen on different parts of your organization, but they don't talk to each other, they don't communicate, and they don't learn from each other, it gets tougher and tougher to really integrate that into a great security offering. And we've been basically paying attention to Sophos and making sure that instead of having 12 different vendors with 12 different products, or 12 different vendors with 20 different products, we can actually get down to a best use and make sure we're using them with a single vendor wherever possible. So, and I will shut up now.
Definitely good addition. So again, speaking of as is, these are local stories. These are all names that should be familiar to you to some degree, out of the Ohio Valley area. And you can see here that, you know, Ohio's not exempt. I don't think I need to tell you that, in terms of attackers coming for your environment, right? And so this is where the as is kind of shifts into the to be, right? Because what we have is the world's best endpoint software. Well, it's the key word there is software. And when you're dealing with human attackers, if you've read the security news today or yesterday, you know, the government multi government a consortium shut down the Lockbit servers. So you know, it's these oh, excuse me, that's where I was going with that. So the software versus humans, and that's the key thing, is the government shut down this Lockbit operating group, this gang, which are people. And so when you have people leveraging tools, malicious or not, and I'll expound on that because that's really the key for MDR. But when you have these attackers using these tools in an environment, software can only do so much, right? Is really what it comes down to. There comes a point where you need a human, because attackers today are living in valid applications, right? They're using built-in Microsoft tools to launch their attack against your environment. And so software is very good at determining malicious. Yes, this is bad, right? Dumping the SAM database with your passwords, that's bad. But using PS exec in and of itself, not bad. Using it to download files is something an administrator does every day. So that's really where we're going to in the 2B side here, which is where we're layering on the service on top. So this is, go ahead.
I was just going to say one of the examples that I use, because I like the non-technical stuff, is you get mugged with a knife, you get operated on, but with a scalpel. You know, it's relatively speaking the same tool. It's the person that's using it and what's the goal and objective of them. And a lot of the technology tools that are made so that we can be more productive when we're delivering our goods and services to our clients, whether it be, you know, materials or IT services or whatever, can be used by the bad actors in order to create, you know, their goods and services, their crimes. So, and you're not too small to get hacked. I get back to the whole, you know, Netflix knows what you watch, Google knows what you search for, Amazon knows what you buy, Facebook knows what you do, and all of them have found ways to make money off of you. And the bad guys are no different.
Yep. Yep. And this is I really like that analogy, Bob. This is one of my favorite slides, really, because this is the mentality of a lot of customers that I run into, candidly, is we're too small. A real life story that I encountered is there's a holding company that is family owned and operated, and they own many of the nation's largest food chains. But it's a tiny, tiny family owned. It's four people, right? And I'm speaking to these people, and one of my other roles is I do threat intelligence via our early warning system, and I'm telling them, you have an attacker in your environment. Attacker's not going to come to us. We're only four people. And, eventually 2 days later, with the FBI sitting in their office telling them, you have an attacker in your environment, suddenly I'm talking to this customer and the FBI, and they quickly realized that there is no such thing as too small. That if you think about ease of access, right? Who's more likely to have a large multinational super skilled SOC? Microsoft or, Bob's Mufflers? Obviously, Microsoft. And so it makes sense to put more effort into the smaller organizations. So exactly like it says here, you are not too small to be hacked. You're just too small to be on the news. So this really goes into what I was saying about software versus human attackers, right? And this phrase in the top left really, really drives it home. Adversaries are no longer breaking in. They're logging in. They're leveraging public exploits on various firewall vendors, on VPN tunnels, whatever it may be, and they're using your credentials because of password reuse and, just poor password sanitization in general. And so once they're in, they're leveraging, like I was saying, built-in Microsoft tools. They're known as LOLBINs, LOLBINs. And I always say the most malicious tool package on the internet is sysinternals. From beginning to end, everything I need to enumerate an environment, to perform initial access, perform exfiltration, and launch ransomware, it's all sysinternals. BitLocker. If I encrypt your environment with BitLocker and you don't know the key, is that not ransomware? And that's where it goes back to, like I said, it's not malicious, it's suspicious. So it's not just that overt use of PS exec, it's what is that PS exec doing? And that's what software has a very difficult time determining, is what is it doing? And that's where the human expertise layers on top and answers that question on your behalf. So the definition as Sophos defines managed detection and response is a fully managed 24/7 service that is delivered by over 500 individuals globally who specialize in detecting and responding to cyber attacks that technology solutions alone cannot prevent. So that in one single sentence is what MDR is, that will be layered on top of the Intercept X. No extra deployment, nothing like that. It's just an extra feature. As far as one of the contributing reasons for why Bob chose Sophos, really, and the benefit to you as the customer and why you would want to partner with us, is because size matters, right? More customers means we have a broader visibility over the threat landscape. I always compare it to a window, right? The bigger your window, the more of the landscape you can see, the more detail you're able to derive from that landscape. Sophos is the largest MDR provider. We're actually closing in on 21,000 MDR customers now. We are deployed on every continent except Antarctica. Still working on that. Bob's got to get me a contact. But other than that, we are on every single continent. You can see 121 countries. So again, that global visibility allows us to see campaigns that a lot of the competitive landscape to Sophos just can't, because they don't have customers over there. So what is cybersecurity as a service? It is an instant SOC, right? You're not paying for any of the structure or the people. Obviously you are through the service, but you're not building it. You're not finding it. You're not sourcing it. It's managed by us or by Bob's team or both. It contains world-class integrated cybersecurity defenses that work with what you already have. So like Bob was saying, rather than having 100 different vendors, thankfully Simplex has kind of consolidated, to make their lives easier as well as your lives easier. but we do have abilities to bring in those 500 various other vendors as well. Expert team, naturally, like I said, most of our SOC analysts are former government employees or large multinational organization sysadmins. So they're very, very well qualified. They all carry some kind of cert, whether it's CompTIA, GIAC, CISSP, whatever it may be. Everyone has at least one certification of some sort, respective to their countries. And then, of course, managed through the cloud, right? We're a modern company. We're not doing anything on-prem there. So how this service works for you is speed. We're fast, right? If these attackers are in your environment leveraging sysinternals, it is only a matter of time before they find the crown jewels, start exfiltrating data, and eventually launch ransomware. Keep in mind, ransomware is the last step. Ransomware is how they twist your arm to get you to pay to not leak data or whatever their double extortion tactics may be. So speed matters. And you can see here, these numbers are from Gartner. So fastest average is 3.7 hours response. Slowest is 30 plus. And I emphasize plus because that number skyrockets very quickly. But our average within Sophos SOC is 38 minutes beginning to end. So that's initial detection comes in, case is created, case is investigated, and resolution is determined, whether that's, stopping a process, deleting a local admin account, closing RDP, whatever it may be on that device, remediation is performed. So open to close, 38 minutes is average. Our service level agreement is an hour or under. So even our SLA is still faster than the fastest average.
So I want to jump in here real quick because
Please.
it's fun. If you go back to that previous slide, this is again one of the reasons why we're doing this the way that we're doing. And I get back to that, what happens at 2 o'clock on a Sunday morning. So there's versions of MDR, both with Sophos has an option as well as with other vendors, that essentially will be, they will contact us or you, the client, and essentially say, hey, this is happening. This is what we think you should do. This is so on and so forth. And as much as I would love to tell you that we're staffed to handle that, we're not. We're not, we don't have a single, superhero security person or the like. And even if we did, that person would need to get sleep. We also don't necessarily have the time to respond to it or the expertise for everything. So this is why it's very important. The position that we're taking is that Sophos will have both the ability and the responsibility to deal with that 38-minute remediation time frame. Or the under an hour from an SLA aspect of it, because they'll be able to deal with it better than we can. And by that, I mean we collectively, clients as well as Simplex-IT. So this is a very good thing to understand both why we're doing this and what the impact is of us doing that. So,
Definitely. Good point. So this here just shows, like I was mentioning, the other various vendors. Just kind of wanted to mention this to make everyone aware. We do have 2 different methods for integrating with various vendors. If it's a cloud platform, we connect via API. If it is an on-prem device like a firewall or a network appliance, then we have a log collector that forwards that up to central. So just wanted to throw that in there, just again to show that we are not tied just to the Sophos stack. We can bring in everything else. So as far as what your SOC looks like, and that's a deliberate wording there when I say your SOC, because again, we would be Simplex's SOC, but you as their client, it'd be your SOC as a service here. So just kind of giving you an idea of what that team is comprised of. Naturally, there's a manager who's over a team lead who has a team underneath that team lead. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 3 being, ultimate escalations, incidents, etc. Adversary pursuit team is responsible for proactive threat hunting. So they were the ones that when Log4j when the proof of concept code for Log4j hit the wild, they're the ones that are performing those proactive hunts against your environment. If something is found, then they hand it over back to the core operations team, where the core operations team performs the full investigation and remediation. And then naturally you have the operations support, because everyone needs support. So automation, rapid response team, which is our incident response inbound, as well as customer success, which is, they're the ones that deal with any kind of questions you may have from a customer experience standpoint. So you can see here, I mean, this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different people that are positioned for SOC operations 24/7 around the clock. We are follow the sun. We've got roughly 6 SOCs around the world. That fluctuates, but 6 SOCs around the world are the core ones. And so we have a follow the sun approach. So anytime you call into the SOC, which you do have access to, by the way, it's just a phone call. A human being is going to pick up. So these are just response actions kind of along the scope of where what step items are coming in, and what we're able to perform against them. So you can see here, identify, we're looking at what's going on, contain, if there's any methods to isolate or remove any artifacts, that's where that goes in. Neutralize is removing threat actor access, so backdoors, mechanisms of persistence, and then of course remediate is confirmation that everything is closed and buttoned up. So those are the processes here that we kind of follow in terms of like our workflow. But I do have some pointed examples that actually go into that differentiation of what we're able to do and where that handoff to Simplex or Simplex clients kind of takes place. So this is these are all real life case studies from our MDR service. We can see here that the beacon, as we call it, the initial detection, was on execution of a malicious file. So call it a macro enabled document, right? Because those are still a thing 15 years and we haven't figured out how to patch that. So malicious file is executed. So our SOC immediately receives that detection. A case is created. They're isolating the device to see what is going on. They find that malicious file, remove it. They find that executing that malicious file generated a scheduled task. So they remove that scheduled task and reaching out via case, which is email, to you, letting you know, hey, this is what we found. This is what we did. Additionally, we are going to perform root cause analysis on how it came to be. So we find the spear phishing email as well as the URL. We then search the data lake to see if any other users received that URL and let you, the customer, know that this is what we found. And in letting you know this is what we found, we would give that domain, hey, block this from the edge, because we do not do that automatically yet. That is coming, especially it's coming for Sophos firewalls. And then, of course, we would recommend resetting this list of users who also received that email, whether or not they clicked on it, just as a best practice recommendation. So that's a spear phishing attack. These ones here, this is what we call a mixed estate. So they have Sophos on the endpoint devices, as well as servers, and then they have a third-party firewall. So Fortinet, Palo, whatever it may be. What we started seeing is hundreds of SSH brute force attempts. So they're basically just running rainbow tables against it. SSH is a method of logging in like remote desktop, just in case. And so what triggered our case creation on our side is the fact that firewall blocked the malicious connection, and there were hundreds of these login attempts. So a case is created, analyst picks it up, looks into it, and we can see here that through the investigation, it was determined that SSH was open, but there were no successful logins completed. So we then want to, again, perform that root cause analysis. So we determine the source IP address. It is known to abuse SSH, but it was not yet classified as malicious by any security vendors. We are a VirusTotal partner. And so we then recommended to the customer, disable SSH because it shouldn't be publicly facing, especially without multi-factor. And then the firewall was already blocking that connection, so no action was needed on the edge firewall. So this is one of my personal favorite ones. So this is a very large telecommunications company. You can see the spoofing on the right. So they were running Sophos Intercept X Advanced with XDR, and then they had a non-Sophos email appliance, a Proofpoint, Mimecast, something like that. The attacker had spoofed large European financial service companies and sent out hundreds and hundreds of emails with to that particular the victim's company. Then, of course, I'm sure you've all seen the email. They're saying, hey, security's disabled. Go ahead and authenticate with Microsoft here and click on this button. And as soon as you do, you're phished. And so that's basically what happened here is they click on a link, web page loads, and then download, enter their credentials and download a file. So the email solution did flag the emails as suspicious. It altered the links, doing like a safe click like Sophos would do, but it still delivered 118 emails. Naturally, 2 users click on the email. 234 alerts were generated by that email solution in total. That's the various blocking actions, as well as flagging the items as suspicious. So our case logic clustered them all together into 2 clusters. So we took our machine learning. I'm not a fan of the term AI personally, but our machine learning will take those email alerts, and instead of a SOC analyst having to look at 234, they're now looking at 2 because our machine learning has clustered them together, correlated them, and determined that these are all related and therefore, pertinent to themselves, but not necessarily spider webbing out to other artifacts. So at that point, our analysts are performing an active investigation. So we're looking at the malicious emails, the web page IP address, if there's any traffic to or from that URL. And then we're also looking at the data lake for any other successful executions across the environment, not just on this one particular user's PC or these 2 users' PCs. So we were able to confirm via the data lake queries that no malicious processes had slipped through. And then, of course, we provided recommendations to the user, to the customer, to delete those malicious emails that are just sitting there that thankfully were not clicked. So, and we do, for Sophos email customers, we do now have email clawback, so we can actually perform that if that is something that you would like. Okay, everyone's favorite topic, my favorite topic, insurance. So this is a big shift in terms of reaching out to any cybersecurity provider, right? Because having an MDR service is going to fundamentally change that conversation that you're having with an underwriter or a broker or what have you. So what we're seeing here, the reason for this slide is to illustrate that cyber insurance just in the past 3-4 years has shifted wildly. 2020, COVID started, insurance companies were giving everyone policies, no problem. They were cheap. Insurance companies didn't know what they were getting into. Well, then boom, because, COVID's going on and everything, attackers they had their little ceasefire for a period of time where, hey, we're not going to attack any schools or hospitals. And then the gloves came off, and they did. And so then insurance providers started just pouring money out in claims. And so the belt tightens naturally. So the market gets harder. There's a lot more conditions that are being applied. 2022 ratchets even harder because they were bleeding money in 21. So now costs are high, conditions are high, rules are high, everything's high. And now it's slowly softening, slowly getting easier to get insurance for some companies. Insurance companies are very, very selective. And so if you are within this now narrow band of customers, well, it'll be easier than it was in years past for you. Everyone else is still going to have difficulties and have all these conditions. Why do I bring this up? Because insurance is risk transfer, right? It's same with medical insurance, same with car insurance. That's all it is you're hedging they're hedging their bets that whatever it is, medical issue, car accident, ransomware attack, they're hedging that it won't happen to you. And so they want to make sure that you are doing whatever you can do to prevent that from happening. And so what we end up with managed detection and response service specifically is you're transferring that management of risk to Sophos. And because of the fact that we include incident response and we're 24/7, that insurance provider goes, well, suddenly they are able to review these alerts and determine, that there is an incident. And if there is an incident, they're still not going to call asking for more money because they have incident response included. And so it shifts that responsibility off of you basically onto us, and it addresses a very large number of those conditions that we're seeing on insurance policies today. So all that is to say, once you do flip over to the MDR service, I'm not sure when Bob's pushing that go button, but as soon as that's done, if you do currently have cyber insurance, I recommend reaching out to your broker, letting them know that your security stack has fundamentally changed, because it is that big of a change to them and to your security posture. And what can it do for your premiums? I can't tell you that your premiums will go down because Sophos doesn't sell insurance. I'm not an insurance broker, but you can see here that 62% of customers surveyed here said that the quality of their defenses impacted the cost of their coverage. I have heard anecdotally from customers firsthand that their premium went down so far that they were actually able to reallocate the savings to purchase the managed detection and response service. So it can noticeably, markedly change the insurance premiums that you may encounter. So that is, at a very high level, the service. I can go as deep as Bob would like me to go, or if there's any questions, I can open it up to.
Yeah, the couple of follow-up points I want to make here is number one, is that the comment that Christopher made a couple of times about person-driven. The technology goes a long way, but at the end of the day, you need the professionals to be there, to be accurately involved in taking a look at things. And because the bad guys are getting better and better in terms of hiding, whether it be hiding through technology, hiding through social engineering, hiding through whatever. And to have these people, again, the 500 folks worldwide available adds that additional value. The couple of other things that we're adding in the Model 24 is the password management. We're also the DMARC management. So you are going to be, by accepting the Model 24 agreement, you're going to be significantly increasing your security posture, and absolutely take advantage of that, like Christopher was saying, when it comes to your cyber insurance. And as you know, we are more than willing. We've got resources that are more than willing to take a look at your existing policy and work with you, because again, if you lower the risk that you're presenting to that insurance carrier, they're going to lower the coverage cost, or there are others who will. And it used to be that managed multi-factor authentication was the biggie. Well, now it's MDR is becoming the next poster child for that sort of thing. So cool stuff. And we are already implementing this. I think we've implemented it for one client, and we're configuring it for another, and we've got two more in the line. So the pipeline is there, and essentially once you've approved your Model 23 proposal, and then you get on the time frame with Kurt and his team. And there's not much, I hate to say there's not much to it. There's not much to it as far as you go. as far as your efforts go. And if you're co-managed, we work with you so that you understand the technology and what's going on as well. So this is one where, and Christopher kind of went, and he did, trust me, he did not go deep. All right. But it's IT, it's cybersecurity, so there's going to be a bunch of buzzwords and the like. And yeah, we talked about them, but you don't have to understand all those things. But if you want to, let us know. And if you have any questions, absolutely, you've got Christopher here, or if you want to hear inaccurate answers, I can try to answer. But that is pretty much it here.